This is the MGTOW Infinium here with another Infinium Free Talk. This Infinium Free Talk is entitled The Bone of False Progress. My brothers, in the quest to keep we men entrapped in the quagmire of feminist slavery, of being slaves on the feminist plantation state, the FPS itself will, from time to time, throw we men a bone of false progress. Now, this bone of false progress is intended to hoodwink you, we as MGTOW men into thinking that our walk along the MGTOW pathway is now fruitless because there is progress in terms of making full equity between men and women possible within the feminist plantation state. My brothers, you must understand that these bones that are thrown at us are not true progress, but rather they are bones that represent the lack of initiative, the lack of desire to create any type of true equity between we men and women. And furthermore, these bones of false progress are designed to hoodwink you and to trick you into going back to what you are escaping from, and that is the slavery of the feminist plantation state, that is becoming a slave within a system that hates you as a man in every way possible. Now, these bones of false progress can be seen in many ways. For instance, if you look at the initiative to create DNA testing for men to prevent things like paternity fraud, there are a few states in the USA which are making paternity fraud a misdemeanor. But there is no initiative to make mandatory DNA testing for the purpose of preventing paternity fraud mandatory throughout the USA, my brothers. That is a bone of false progress. It is, yes, we recognize that paternity fraud is affecting men, but we will not class this crime as a felony. We will not make it nationwide as a felony, but we will leave it up to the states to decide. So there is a random yes, no type of situation, hazy. Yes, we recognize it, but no, we will not allow it to be fully punished as a crime. That is a bone of false progress, my brothers. Again, it is designed to hoodwink you into thinking that it is okay to go back to the feminist plantation state. It is okay because things are being done to help you as a man to have freedom and peace within the feminist plantation state. Now, my brothers, these bones of false progress are being thrown at us for the purpose of hoodwinking we men into thinking that it is safe to go back to slavery, that it is safe to go back to a system which can cause you pain and agony in your life in every way possible, which can cause you to waste years of your life for the purpose of being a slave and not for the purpose of being a free man as you should be. The other purpose behind the FPS throwing we men a bone of false progress is to cover up how bad things are within the FPS, how uncontrollable things like narcissism, things like crime, things like high debt, terrible cases of STDs, my brothers, among women. That is designed to cover up the mess that the FPS wants we men to come back into slavery for the purpose of cleaning up that mess and for the purpose of allowing women to not take accountability for their actions. So again, it is a twofold purpose to hoodwink us and to cause us to come back into the slavery of cleaning up the mess, of being the ones who are accountable for the messes that women make. Now, my brothers, the latest bone that has been thrown at we men is the case of Corey Richards. Corey Richards is on face value and determined to be, because of the court case she went through, a malignant, narcissistic woman who is a psychopath. And my brothers, as you will see in the content that I will show you, she has been convicted of all of her crimes. For reference, Corey Richards basically was an unfaithful wife to Eric Richards, who was her husband, because of an extramarital affair with another man. Corey also robbed Eric of his financial resources and ultimately wound up murdering him. And then on top of that, she wrote a terribly worded children's book about how children grieve when they lose a loved one. Again, Corey Richards is a psychopathic, malignant narcissist. But my brothers, Corey Richards has also been sacrificed by the FPS for the purpose of, again, hoodwinking we men into thinking that progress is being made in terms of holding women accountable and hoodwinking we men into thinking that it is okay to come back to FPS enslavement. My brothers, I would like to play for you the jury verdict as it was handed down on Corey Richards in terms of her crimes. In the use of this content, I cite fair use policies. Here now is the content.
Counsel, Ms. Richards, please stand. Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richards, is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richards, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richards, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richards, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richards, is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat. Madam Foreperson, is this the verdict that the jury reached unanimously?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you may have a seat.
My brothers, on face value and from the jury verdict that Corey Richards received, it appears that Eric Richards is finally getting some kind of justice because of what happened to him, because of Corey Richards, who basically murdered him to get at his assets, to get his resources. But my brothers, there is the aspect of, again, Corey Richards being a bone of false progress. And I would like to take you through a couple of layers that are going on with this type of situation. Now, of course, Corey Richards is a horrible person. She is a wicked woman in every way possible. And from the standpoint of morality, she deserves to be in prison for the rest of her life. Whether or not she receives that sentence, that is another story. But again, the jury taking about 3 hours to convict her of all crimes is, on one level, a sense of justice for, again, Eric Richards. But my brothers, on another level, it is a bone of false progress, nevertheless. Now, let's delve into some layers of what is actually going on here. The first aspect we should look at as men is what has happened to women because of feminism and what is now occurring because of feminism. My brothers, one of the things that that has happened to women because of feminism, and particularly in recent years, is the rise of narcissism. And because of the rise of narcissism, the transforming of women from being just narcissists to malignant narcissists. And those women who are malignant narcissists being such that they are like Corey Richards. They are immoral. They are women who have their consciences seared. They have no regard for human life. They have no regard for good men like Eric Richards, and they detest good men like Eric Richards. My brothers, I will submit to you that Corey Richards is the tip of the iceberg in terms of the numbers of malignant narcissistic women that are out there, and the tip of the iceberg in terms of what feminism has done to women in terms of pushing them into narcissism, and that narcissism, because of the unchecked powers that the feminist plantation state affords all women, causing them to be malignant narcissists who have great power over we men in every way possible. And the specter of a Corey Richards, again, being a norm, not the exception, my brothers. You should consider that, again, because of the feminist plantation state and the powers that it affords all women, whether they be narcissists or not, whether they be feminist or not, is vast and unchecked, my brothers. That means that any woman who is, quote unquote, a sugar and spice and everything nice type of woman can turn into a narcissist, and from that point can transform into a malignant narcissist, my brothers. That is what is going on within the feminist plantation state. The issue of narcissism is so out of control that it is beyond comprehension, my brothers. That is a component of what the feminist plantation state wants you to come back to, and why they would throw a bone here and there to trick you, to hoodwink you into thinking that there is progress in terms of holding women like Corey Richards accountable. The real deal behind all of this, my brothers, is that the feminist plantation state cannot contain what is happening within its walls, my brothers. And that is, again, the potential of many women being narcissists, the potential of a component of those many women being narcissists becoming malignant narcissists. And again, the power that they have. For instance, a woman can go to a local magistrate, perjure herself, and make a false allegation against a man, and that man will end up in jail because of the infrastructure of the feminist plantation state. My brothers, again, consider the fact that the woman that you see in the grocery store, or if you're sitting in the cafe sipping on coffee, or if you're just taking a walk in the park, those women could have a form of narcissism. Now, the other aspect of it is, of course, what we men have seen all along, the great difficulty that women are experiencing because of what is going on. Again, great job losses, homelessness, high rates of STDs, all types of things going on, things that women cannot overcome. Even with the powers of the feminist plantation state, women cannot overcome these things. High rates of women being on SSRIs because they cannot cope with what is going on. The types of gaslighting that we men are receiving, that we men are the ones who are lonely, when in fact, if you just look at the numbers of women who are crying and babbling incoherently that they are lonely, that they no longer want to be boss babes. All of these things are going on. So you have a component of narcissism, you have a component of mental problems, you have a component of debts, you have a component of all types of things happening to women, which will lead to the type of desperation that happened with Corey Richards. Corey Richards basically had a lot of debt, and she chose to take out things like insurance policies, change all types of things financially on Eric Richards for the purpose of paying off debts for a failed business, my brothers. That is what is going on within the feminist plantation state. You will see many women, just like Corey Richards, being arrested for all types of fraud. All types of things that are going on, bank fraud, PPP loan fraud, all types of fraud. And the numbers of those women is increasing rather than decreasing, my brothers. You will see women in government who have been put there by things like DEI, who are ripping off the citizens that they are supposed to be serving, my brothers. You will see these things, my brothers. And again, that is the very reason why Corey Richards was thrown as a bone of false progress to we men, that yes, the FPS is holding women accountable for their actions. But my brothers, that is not the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is that the FPS cannot contain the types of things that are going on within its borders, my brothers. And again, they need we men, first of all, for the purpose of making money off of our backs and to come back and be slaves who work in the fields of the FPS in terms of all types of things that are taken from us, that are ripped off from us, finances, resources, everything, my brothers, so that they can support what is going on, that they can kick the can down the road a bit further to keep control of we men, to keep us enslaved, my brothers. Now, my brothers, if you look specifically at the component of the FPS attempting to kick the can down the road a bit further, you will see that there is difficulty in even kicking the can down the road, so to speak, a little further. One of the aspects of why there is difficulty is because of, again, the out of control narcissism, the out of control aspect of the component of those women being malignant narcissists, my brothers. Now, for instance, you may have seen recently that Disney had to cancel the entire season of The Bachelorette, and that is going to probably result in a $70 million loss when everything is totaled up in terms of what happened. But the reason why Disney had to cancel The Bachelorette is because of Taylor Frankie, who is, again, a malignant, narcissistic, and in my opinion, a psychopathic woman. Now, how this condition of Disney having to cancel The Bachelorette and facing, because of that, a $70 million loss, how this came about, my brothers, was because of, again, Taylor Frankie and the reemergence of a video which showed Frankie attacking the man that she was in relationship with at that time, throwing bar stools at him, one of which hit one of her children. This all came about because of that video. Now, there are a couple of aspects of this situation which all involve hypocrisy. Now, first of all, there is the hypocrisy of the feminist plantation state trying to throw a bone at we men in the form of Corey Richards and how she is being forced to, quote unquote, take accountability for her actions, how she's facing punishment, quote unquote, for her actions. There is, of course, the hypocrisy of what was done with Corey Richards in the form that she is the bone of false progress, so to speak, in terms of holding women accountable. Because you can see how the issue with Taylor Frankie coming out immediately after Corey Richards, that first of all, the problem of narcissism, the problem of women becoming transformed into malignant narcissists is so out of control that the feminist plantation state can no longer hide the fact that things are that bad within its borders, my brothers. Again, that is hypocrisy. Now, if you throw into the mix that all along the feminist plantation state has been, quote unquote, trying to psyop we men, in particular, we MGTOW men, into thinking that we are the ones who have the problems. We are the ones who are destroying society. We are the ones, because we choose peace and because we choose freedom, are the ones who are crazy, who are narcissists, who are malignant narcissists, when it is indeed the feminist plantation state and the women who that state caters to who are the narcissists, who are the malignant narcissists. Now, another aspect of what happened with Taylor Frankie is the hypocrisy of what was known about who she was. If you look closely at the reasons why Disney had to cancel The Bachelorette and why they are about to lose $70 million, if you look closely at that, if you look at the aspects of how that happened, it can be seen that Disney was aware of Taylor Frankie being a malignant narcissist, being a psychopath, but they chose to cover up that fact and proceed to produce this season of The Bachelorette regardless of who Taylor Frankie is. That means that they are complicit in the hoodwinking that is going on, that narcissism is not that bad, malignant narcissism is not that bad, because again, what happened with Taylor Frankie was the exposure of a woman being a malignant narcissist, a show being made to cater to this woman and drive simps to this woman for the purpose of making the whole framework of a woman, because of the feminist plantation state, because of the great powers of the feminist plantation state, can be a woman like Corey Richards, like Taylor Frankie, who are psychopaths, my brothers. This is what the feminist plantation state wants you, we as MGTOW men to give up our freedom for. And this is why the feminist plantation state is doing things to create the normalization of things like narcissism, like it is normal for a woman to be a narcissist, and that it is normal for a woman to be a malignant narcissist. This is what is going on, my brothers. And to compound that, if you look at the example again of Taylor Frankie, there is now the pushing forth of reactive abuse. And that is, my brothers, a woman's right to react to you as a man abusively because you are a man. So again, consider that under the framework of reactive abuse, and consider under the infrastructure of the feminist plantation state, again, a infrastructure which gives women great power, which gives women like Taylor Frankie great power. She can reactively abuse you just because you are a man. This is being pushed forth as normalization. There is no pushing forth of the normalization of accountability. It is the normalization of abuse. It is the normalization of psychopathic behavior, my brothers. This is what is going on. And this is why, again, the FPS is throwing bones of false progress at we men. My brothers, in this hour, these are the things that you must open your eyes to, that it is not safe to be with a woman like a Corey Richards, like a Taylor Frankie, and that the numbers of women who are like Corey Richards, Taylor Frankie, are growing instead of decreasing, my brothers. This is the danger that you, we as MGTOW men face if we begin to simp out and to turn away from the pathway that saves our lives in every way possible and go back to the enslavement of the feminist plantation state. This is what you will face. You will not face the freedom and the peace of being with a woman who will have your back. You will face the condition of like what happened to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. You will be tortured. You will be conditioned as a man to accept reactive abuse, except that because you are a man, a woman has a right to abuse you. You will have to accept her craziness. You will have to accept her ability to throw you into jail for any and every reason under the sun because she has the power to do so and to destroy your life in every way possible. My brothers, the only way that this can be dealt with is to stay away from it, to ignore the bones of false progress that the FPS is trying to throw at we men. The only pathway that you have that can save you as a MGTOW man is to stay on the pathway that you have been walking along, that you have been traveling along, which points to your freedom, which points to your peace, which points to who you are as a free man. My brothers, there is no other way. You should not compromise with having a bone thrown at you. That is beneath who you are as a free man. That is an undignified response to who you are as a free man. And it is as well a furtherance of what the FPS considers you to be, a slave in every way possible, my brothers. My brothers, again, you, I, we, as MGTOW men are free men, and we do not deserve things like reactive abuse. We do not deserve bones thrown at us to keep us appeased in our slavery, my brothers. We are men who deserve our freedom and our right to be free in every way possible. This is the MGTOW Infinium, and this has been an Infinium Free Talk. My MGTOW brothers, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay on the MGTOW path, and remember, MGTOW is the liberation of men's minds. MGTOW cannot and will not be stopped.